Nix and 4.4 are in the PTU, and Lagski seems to have returned in all its glory. We'll talk about that in a minute. I woke up in the middle of the night to take a look, so let me tell you what I saw. First of all, let's get the tech stuff out of the way. So I've been speculating, what are they going to do with the server meshing stuff? So we've had 10 servers in a shard for the whole year, effectively, since 4.0. And what they're doing here is they're not increasing that. We're going to have 6 in Stanton, 2 in Nix, and 2 in Pyro. And so that maybe does give you a hint at how much is in Nix. There's not a lot that they have to do, but I have to say, the server FPS wasn't great. Also, the graphics changes. Now, in the engineering tech preview that we just had, that test was built on top of the Vulkan and graphics changes that had been tested in the tech preview about a month before. I started to think that maybe that would mean that those graphics changes would come into this build, and that 4.4 and going forward from here, all of that stuff would be built on all these changes that have been working for the engine, the graphics changes, getting Vulkan in, DLSS4, transformer stuff. But none of that is in here. None of that is in. This is a pure content patch, effectively. It's the same as all the other patches that we've had all year, where they built their version of the engine, I guess, some point before 4.0, and they've just been dropping content onto that version of the engine and doing small tweaks all the way through. And so 4.4 is the same. So the actual test, I traveled from Stanton to Nix, and I think CIG have just swapped out the Magnus gateway, and now it's called the Nix gateway. But it is a long way out. So it's the top left of the Stanton map. It's 81 gigameters from Lawville, and personally, I think I'd probably have moved it a bit closer so that people are more inclined to visit. I heard reports that actually the gateway from Pyro to Nix wasn't working, but anyway, I can't verify that. The jump to Nix was basically the same that you'd expect. The colours were off though, so as you transition from the Stanton half of the tunnel to the Nix half of the tunnel, well, the colours all went orange, which is what happens when you go to Pyro, and I expect that's just something they've not updated again, hinting that this is coming in pretty hot. You pop out into Nix, and there's a kind of normal space station next to the gateway like there is in Pyro, and then you open up your star map to see what's in Nix, and well, there's not a lot, which we did know. On the map, there's just Levski, which there was a bug and you couldn't actually easily quantum travel to. And then, as well as Levski, there's the Stanton gateway and the Nix gateway, and that's it. There's no planets, as we kind of already knew. It does feel very much bare bones. This is an Evocati test. There'll be potentially things added on as we go through the PTU, but it does feel fairly empty. Then on to Levski. So here's where it gets fun. The Glacian Belt, all the stuff they showed us at CitizenCon, I mean, it looks the same. It looks great. The whole feel of the system I really, really like. But as you approach Delamar, which is the asteroid, the frame rate starts to drop and drop and drop. And we're talking sub 30 FPS for my system with a 9800 XUD as a CPU. The engine main thread, the issue that so often is the thing in Star Citizen, that is working over time. It wasn't the graphic stuff or the render thread, it's the main thread. The entity count kind of around the asteroid, and as you get closer, it's up at around 160,000. There were, though, a load of big ships. So the Evocati had pulled out their big ships to have a fly around, and I'm sure that was contributing to the performance. I guess we're going to call them performance woes, because it was pretty bad. Levski itself, though, it looks great. And again, you've seen all the footage from CIG at CitizenCon. Flying up through that hole when there's all sorts of ships moving around you is very, very cool, even if the frame rate was getting very cinematic. And again, landing in a hangar that's carved into an asteroid is a nice change of pace from all the hangars that we normally have. And so you've arrived at Levski, and from the hangar in the elevator, you can go to Teacher's Ship Shop, which is its own floor, which is, I guess, similar to what they do in the Pyro stations. There's a ship shop from your elevator hangar. And then from there, you head to the main customs area. And my memory isn't that clear because it's been a long time since it's been in-game, since Levski as the landing zone was in-game. I think 3.12 it was or something, but generally it feels pretty much the same, which is problematic in a minute, which we'll talk about. There are more sub-levels to visit. There's like a refinery level and things, but running around all the side tunnels, it kind of just felt like it was pretty similar, and it felt familiar to me. And again, it's been a long time since I've been in there, but it almost felt like it was exactly the same, which I'm sure it isn't. Maybe they've moved some things around, but the area like their Grand Barter, it just felt very familiar, very similar. But performance in the landing zone itself, well, I mean, the first time Levski was in the game, it got the nickname Lagski because it was pretty much the worst performing part of the whole game. And somewhat crazy, it kind of feels exactly the same now. Again, on my pretty much best for performance PC, we're talking around 25 FPS with dips into the teens as I run around the different areas. I mean, it's obvious that this is an Evocati build and there'll be some extra code, doing some logging stuff as well. And so we probably shouldn't panic just yet, but I do dread to think how this would have run on like a more minimum spec machine. I mean, things might well get better as the 4.4 thing moves through PTU, but there is one problem I found that I think they can't really solve by the time it goes live, because Levski, like I said, is pretty close to the original version. And I do think there's some potential big level design problems here. When we first saw it in 2016, that Gamescom demo, it was effectively being played as like a single player level. I mean, it was a gameplay showcase. And even when it was in the game, the number of people on the servers at that point was 50, and they were spread out across all of Stanton. But what I experienced last night was effectively 200 players all running around the landing area, and it highlighted major issues. Everything is way too cramped. The walkways are very small. The Grand Barter itself is incredibly tight. I was just getting bashed and bashed and bashed by the players all the time. I mean, the fact that the frame rate was so poor didn't help with like controlling a character, but it was not that fun. Imagine when this goes live, I'm sure at least at launch, 300 or 400 or 500 players will just go and check out this new system, and really the main thing to check out is Levski. It's gonna feel, I don't even know, if you've ever been to like a major like sporting event or whatever, like a football match or something where you just got thousands of people like streaming through very small areas, I think it's gonna feel a bit like that. And I'm kind of shocked that CIG didn't do more of a redesign. It almost feels like, yeah, a single player environment in terms of size. And I'm not really sure how this will work as a location if dynamic meshing, server meshing's future, it does actually bring thousands of players to a shard. I mean, CIG have hugely increased the amount of paths and hangars for Levski, but they've just not really updated the interior to match it. And I guess maybe that means they'll just go for instancing, which I don't know if I love in this sort of case, but I would have massively preferred if they'd done a bit of a redesign to open up the space a bit more. Then some quick stuff to just work through. EVAing around the outside Levski, that thing they showed us at CitizenCon, it's fun, but there's not really anything to do out there at this point. I don't think there's anything kind of worth exploring, but it is fun and it looks cool. Recco Battaglia is back as a mission giver in her old spot, I think, exactly the same. You can have a chat with her, but I couldn't work out how to get any missions from her. You might have to do other things first or whatever. Interstellar cargo missions are in. There's a Ling hauling one that I saw on the good side, and on the evil side, unlawful, unverified side, apparently now Twitch runs the Dead Saints, which I don't know if that's just a law change, but that was the mission that was there. The Dead Saints are offering missions and Twitch is in theory in charge of them, so that's interesting. There are some missions available in Nyx, and I took a couple of combat ones looking for alien bad guys. I couldn't find them. There were reports that some people were fighting the Vandal, but I couldn't find them, but that in theory is in. And then the major thing that we're kind of expecting with this journey into Nyx is this new event that CIG showed at CitizenCon. That was missing, that wasn't in. I don't know if they necessarily confirmed that was definitely coming with 4.4. There's been data mining stuff and all that sort of stuff. I don't know if it's definitely coming now, but without it, I'm not really sure how much time people will actually spend in this new system. Maybe again, things will get added through the PTU cycle, but this really at this stage is more of a tourist destination. If you've got nostalgia because you love Levski back in the day, for sure you go and check it out. Or if you've never been there, it's 100% worth going. And the system does have that really good feel. The vibe of the system is really nice, but that kind of is it at this stage. Again, no planets, no other stations. That again, there are missions, but it's not like, it doesn't feel anywhere near as finished as something like Stanton does. I mean, CIG were very upfront about the fact that they were building this system out over the next year. So I don't think we can really judge Nyx probably until about this time next year. But in the back of my mind, the question is this going to go the same way as Pyro has gone? Pyro took years and years of development, lots of effort, time, money, whatever, and now hardly anybody plays there. Some people have never even visited, and I know Pyro is slightly different in that it's more unlawful than Nyx, but still Nyx has that edge to it in some ways. I mean, I do think that CIG's plan to fill Nyx out with content over the next year probably does mean that players will go over and visit and play in there, hopefully. But we'll have to see. Let me know what you think. Are you excited for Nyx? Is this going to change the game massively? I don't think it will, but let me know what you're thinking. And yeah, it's exciting. It's a new system, but it is very bare at this stage, very bare.